Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome, e-Prasaran audience. I'm delighted to present the 25th episode of Language Talks today. It is only with your support and blessings that I'm able to do this. I'm here today with an eminent guest in the field of German, Dr. Vibha Surana. She is the professor and head of Department of German, University of Mumbai. She has a doctorate in German and Hindi comparative literature. She is a lifelong research fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. She has done postdoctoral work on cross-cultural comparisons. Her areas of specializations are many. I will mention just a few: German language and literature, culture studies, comparative literature, aesthetics, travel literature, methodology of teaching German as a foreign language, and learning of Marathi as a second and foreign language. Welcome to the show, Vibha.
Thank you, Lalita. Thanks for having me in it.
So nice to have you here. I would like to start by asking you about your doctorate because the subject is very interesting: German and Hindi comparative literature. So can you tell us about it?
Yeah, surely. It is not only the doctorate, even my MPhil was on comparative literature. And somehow, if that is bound to happen, if you are teaching a foreign language in your own country, then your reference point you want to use where you are living, where you are breathing, literature of that place has to be brought into play. So I'm just to go a little bit back. My MPhil was on a comparative topic between Thomas Mann's The Transposed Heads and Girish Karnad's Hayvadan. So yeah, and it's very, very interesting because Thomas Mann takes the story, the original plot from the old Katha Sarit Sagar, Indian short stories. And Vetal Panchvimshati you would have heard of. So it's one of the stories he just picks from there and gives it a very German flavor. It's called the Transposed Heads, an Indian legend. And then Hayavadan, and then Girish Karnad takes up the same motive in the our post-independence days, and he says in his preface that he is indebted to Thomas Mann for his thing. So an originally Indian motive travels to Germany, comes and an Indian then goes back to Germany, picks it up. And later on, I came to know that even the Pakistani writer Imtiaz Hussain has written a short story on the same motive. It's an old story where two men, their heads get exchanged. So what happens after that, and what are the psychoanalytic and psychological factors which are leading to such an thing where the wife basically, in her state of stupor, so to say, exchanges the heads of the husband and the husband's friend. So it's very interesting. So that's and coming back to my PhD, it is the two texts that I took, the primary texts. The German text was called Goethe's The Sorrows of Young Werther. And the Hindi text was Sachidanand Vatsyayan Agge's Shekhar Ek Jeevani. And what fascinated me in both the texts was the protagonists were rebels. They were very, very typical rebels in a paradoxical way. They were rebels, social rebels who fall in love with a woman they cannot get. And at the end, the German protagonist commits suicide, but the Indian protagonist is at the brink of death. He is to be hanged because he took part in the freedom struggle and during the British times. So basically, what interests me is that though literature does not happen in a vacuum. So what is what are the undercurrents? What is the deep structure, the cultural context in which it comes out, and how that defines the treatment that an author gives to that particular motive or subject. So then I dig deep and try to find out what is it, how is it different. So what I came out little bit I could share is that both the texts are in a way first person narratives, and whereas in the German text is very very naturally using the first person narrative. It's a novel of letters, and it's an epistolary novel. But the Indian protagonist in the 20th century decides in the preface to narrate the story in third person. Now, if you dig a little deep, why does he do so? Why can't he tell his story as an I? Why does he have to say he? So if you dig deep, we don't have the tradition of autobiography in India. And why we don't have, if you look at the socio-cultural factors, there's a German philosopher, Wilhelm Halbfass, who talks about the Indian I, the self, not being expressive of itself as an I, as a self, as an ego. And you see similar hesitations. So we don't have autobiographies till the 19th, 20th centuries. There's only one exception in the 17th century. You have Banarsi Dad's Ardh Nayak or something like that. And Gandhi in his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, also is feeling embarrassed in the beginning. If you read the introduction, he says, no, I'm not telling my story. I'm not telling my story. I'm just sharing my experiments with truth. This hesitation, this shame in talking about yourself as if you are very, very important was there. And then you see these little how the form changes because of the cultural context. This is just one example that I wanted to share. Yeah. So like that, there are many other things that come out when you do such analysis and such research.
Wow, this is really interesting. And how did you decide to, take up German? Going back to your college days.
Yeah, that also has some kind of a comparative or intercultural. I started off as a hobby. I have done my bachelor's in English honors. And so after my bachelor's, after my school, in fact, when I started off with my bachelor's, evening classes I used to take for German. And I cultivated it as a hobby. And in 3 years, I learned so much of German that I had a choice. I was qualified then to do my MA in English or in German. But then English, everybody would do. I wanted to do something different. So I took up German. Another reason is my mother has done her PhD from Germany in the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she is in German linguistics, and she's been a professor at a university in Rajasthan, the University of Rajasthan. And probably, I think that would have been one reason for me not to take it because I wanted to do something different. But then I wanted to take it. I thought maybe I would like to go for Indian civil services and it would be a good subject to take. But then I got so deeply interested that I just went into academics and research. Yeah.
Wow, that is really nice.
So why I wanted to say is one thing that my mother, who did her PhD in German linguistics, has done her MA in Sanskrit.
Oh,
So
okay.
she had done that kind of thing, and she went into German because Germans Indologists have done tremendous work on in old Indian, ancient Indian texts. So she
Hmm.
wanted to read their commentaries, and that's how she
Okay.
started learning German.
Okay.
So my journey was the other way around. I'll tell you how. From Sanskrit to
Mhm.
German she went, and in a way, I'm going from German to Indian languages in one of the projects. Well, while when we talk later, I'll come to that.
Yes, definitely. And you're a lifelong research fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. So we would like to know about it. Like, what does the research involve, and how did you do this?
Hmm. So the Humboldt Research Foundation is a research foundation which is there was a very versatile German scientist and yeah, scientist, one could say, very versatile, Alexander von
Mhm.
Humboldt. They were two brothers. The elder brother
Oh,
was more of a philologist into languages and knew also Sanskrit, and
mhm.
the younger brother was a traveler, and he has one penguin is named after him, the ocean currents are named after him. He was a very versatile scientist. So on
Uh-huh.
that so now this Humboldt Foundation does wonderful work
Mhm.
to promote and nurture young scientists. It is very
Hmm.
difficult to get this kind, the Humboldt Research Fellowship,
Okay.
but since it is across disciplines, there are natural scientists, there are humanities, social sciences. Many IITs, IITians here, IIT professors or TIFR professors are or IISc, I mean, are Humboldtians. So
Mhm.
basically, what they do is, I'm wanting to talk about it so that people know about the foundation, and
Correct.
because it's doing wonderful work, you have to have finished your doctorate and
Mhm.
have a
Okay.
few international publications and
Mhm.
international recommendations. And
Mhm.
earlier you used to, yeah, the age was like age limit was around 40. You had to be below 40,
Okay.
and very difficult to get through. But once you get it, and that's why I'm telling you so much about it. Once, that's the beautiful thing. It is a
Mhm.
lifelong fellowship.
I
It's
see.
not that
Mhm.
it's a one time you grant, they'll give you. No.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
any time in your life you want to do your any research on any topic of your interest, you
Mhm.
write to them. You can go to Germany, access their
Oh,
library, and
okay.
they will fund the entire thing. So
Wow, this is fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and it's particularly necessary that people know about it. Not many people know about it.
Mhm.
So I would really recommend young scientists to try out this, because German libraries are wonderful and the infrastructure is great to do research in any discipline. In
Mhm.
fact, even Indian texts, you would find them more easily perhaps than in than here. Yeah.
Okay. Wow, nice.
So
Thanks for
now,
sharing this
sorry. So I
information.
am coming to your topic.
Yes.
Your question, sorry, about the research that I did.
Mhm.
It was again related to cultural semiotics of literature,
Mhm.
and one of the I have researched the term and the concept culture. 20
Okay.
years ago, when I had applied for this scholarship, this fellowship, at that time,
Mhm.
in fact, since the last quarter of the 20th century, there was this thing called the cultural turn, and everybody
Mhm.
was speaking about culture and what is it, etc. So I was curious to dig deep about the term culture, the concept culture, and if culture itself is culturally configured, so to say, the term and the concept. Because if language and culture are very, very deeply connected. So one of the wonderful findings I had, and this was in the framework of this Humboldt research that I did for 6 months in Germany, that German and Sanskrit are both Indo-European languages. So are Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati. They are all Indo-European languages, which basically means the same language family. And there are many commonalities in grammar, morphology, language structures. So when I was doing the culture thing, I found out that when the Germans or in German language or in English, you want to go for the etymology of culture, what happens is that you go to cultura, Latin, which means to cultivate. Yeah. So it comes from agriculture. Yeah, where you cultivate agriculture, you cultivate things, and later it was transferred to cultivation of spirit, of intellect, of human beings, and that's how it developed as culture. Now, what it basically means is that when you are developing yourself, culture is juxtaposed to nature in the North American, West European context. Nature culture. So if you are cultivating something, you are that is an intervention in nature and for the good of the human beings. Now this intervention with nature can go to very it can lead to exploitation of nature also. For the good of the human beings, you would think, maybe for short-term goals or whatever, but then that's what the last centuries have shown, how much we have exploited nature in the name of culture. You want everything. So and then again, there was a very underlying what do you say, unequal status that the cultures who were closer to nature, like the tribes, or cultures who would not have, who don't have written literature, but who have a very rich oral literary tradition. So those kind of cultures were called primitive cultures, so to say, in the 18th, 19th century, the entire colonial context. And so there is a lot of hierarchy going on there, which was very disturbing, because things like script should be there if you want to have culture. You have to be the enlightened movement, enlightenment thing should be there. Script should be there. Progress should be very fast. The header, there's a German who writes this in the 18th century text that he has written on the history of human beings. So that's where this was all very disturbing. So why do we on the long term, it's not a very sustainable concept to live with. So then I was thinking, and then and while doing this research, I could show that the etymology of culture, the word culture, can come from the Indo-Germanic language in Sanskrit also. And if you go culture, I mean, it's an English word. In German, it is called Kultur.
Yes.
Same thing, culture in English is called Kultur. Now, Kuller in Sanskrit and Indian languages means a family, a dynasty, a group of people, that collective identity comes, right? So which a culture has. Culture has two things, basically. Concept, it should be a group of people bound by a certain criteria like nation, religion, language. It can be Indian culture, it can be Urdu culture, it can be Christian culture. So these are different criteria of binding a collective. So kul you get, and char, culture. That charati in Sanskrit means to eat, char, to eat, to move, but it also means to behave, acharan, that char. Yeah, how a group of people, how a collective eats, moves, behaves, lives, that is culture. So yeah, that this is one of the findings, one of the things that I came about, I mean that I have written about, that if you look at it that way, and don't take it from Latin, take it from Sanskrit. By the way, I have no political leanings when I talk about that.
Absolutely.
But
We are taking only the language view.
Yeah. So it gives you a very egalitarian, equal concept of culture. Anybody, any collective, and how the collective is eating, living, behaving, that is culture. So that collective can be tribals, that can be college students, that can be whatever, very rich, very poor. There is no hierarchy in it, which comes in if you take the Latin etymology. That's one little example, one of the little things that I did for my Humboldt research fellowship. So I've called my book The Europhony of Culture.
Okay.
Because we don't realize the language we use. There is such a deep structure beneath it. It's like the iceberg. No? There is this iceberg model of culture. You just see, what you see is just the top, your language. But what is below it, there's a lot of deep cultural, deep structure. So if you're using a certain term, there is like culture. A lot of baggage comes with it, which we don't realize also. So yeah, that is what fascinates me.
Yes, this is really huge. And I mean, if this is only a tip of it, I'm sure there must be so much into it. Then you received the International Grimm Prize in 2018.
Yeah.
Right? Please tell us about it.
So the brother Grimm, you must have heard of the Grimm's fairy tales. Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were in the early 19th century amazing scientists who not only collected the fairy tales and brought them out in the written form, but who have also done tremendous research in old literary texts. They have, in fact, founded perhaps the biggest German dictionary, and the work they started went on till the 20th century. So wonderful. So basically, they were founders of German language, literature, German philology. They were the founders. So on them, this prize is named after these brothers.
Okay.
And basically, what they do is the German Academic Exchange Service looks for one scholar every year from all over the world, whose work, academic work, they find convincing, and people who are also active in international cooperation and people who are doing research. So they bestow this prize. And what was amazing was that this prize was given to me in the Academy of Sciences in Berlin. That's the place where Jacob Grimm used to hold his regular lectures. So that was a beautiful experience in that hall, Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And going back to your postdoctoral work on cultural comparisons, I mean, you have already mentioned a few things. So would you like to add anything to it? Add more examples?
Yeah. So when I was doing my work, as I said, it was around 2002 that the first time I got the Humboldt Research Fellowship. What was happening till then was that the Indian scholars were writing about how the German writers have written about India.
Okay.
So the reception of India by German writers, right from the Romantics, they were all big fans of India. They had discovered Sanskrit, which was they considered to be the cradle of human civilization, and German. They saw so many similarities between German and Sanskrit. So like that over in the 19th century, 20th century, so there a lot of work was done on how Germany looks at India. But nobody had so far done a work on how India looks at Germany.
Okay, yes.
So then I said, I thought, okay, I must find out. So I found that our writers like Nirmal Verma, Agye, Govind Mishra, many Indian writers have written on Germany.
Oh, okay.
They have been to Germany and they have written on Germany, how their view of Germany. So I did the other way around, and then I compared the two. So that was also interesting, yeah. How Germans look at India, not all, I mean German writers basically, and how Indian writers look at Germany.
Germany.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it is always better to know both the sides.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So why should we be always looked upon? We can also look at others and have some views about others, isn't it? So we are so used to, okay, what the British say about us, what the Germans say about us, but we should also think what we can have to say about them.
Them, yes.
Yeah, so getting into the subject position and not always the object, passive object position.
Yes. Then you have authored so many books. So I would like to know about them. So you can tell us in detail also.
Yeah. So I have my first book was monograph was of course where I published my PhD thesis, and my second monograph was a collection of research articles. That was the Humboldt Fellowship.
Okay.
Where I have many essays. One is on this concept of culture. Then you have this comparison of what Indian writers write about Germany, what German writers write in the second half of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. And then many undercurrents, cultural things that are happening. Basically, what are the cultural factors which are influencing, or which are sometimes at least influencing the way people look at each other. For example, in Germany, Hitler is definitely a criminal.
Okay.
With so many Jews were butchered to death, and all the Second World War, and many things. So, but in India, sometimes Hitler is considered to be an ideal or a hero. So then, what are the cultural factors? Why one culture looks upon the same person as a villain, and the other person looks at it as a hero? So again, then you look at the history of India, how we were 1,000 years. There were so many conquerors who came, and we were defeated so many times. So our psyche looks for strong leaders. Yeah. That is one explanation. Somebody else told me, because we have patriarchy, so we want strong men to be there. But I don't know. I don't buy that. And in the Germans, because 12 years of what Hitler and the Nazis did to Germany, they obviously hate it. So Yeah, so like that, there were some broodings about these differences in that particular monograph. Then I have edited many books. Some of them are on different topics. A German writer, Günter Grass, who's a Nobel laureate. So this book is called Voices from India and Germany, on the author Günter Grass. That is an edited volume. Then we
yeah, sorry to interrupt, but when you edit these books, I mean, particularly this book, so how do you go about it? So I would like to know the process also.
So this particular book came out of a conference that we had organized with some international scholars and, of course, many Indian scholars. And they started off as conference proceedings, but we thought, since we were writing on such an important writer, we should not limit it to the conference papers. So we tried and collected because Günter Grass has been to India, I think, almost 5 times. 4 or 5 times he's been to India, and he has written on India, some controversial texts. Even in his last book called Von der Ähnlichkeit, which was published posthumously, there are a couple of texts on India. So his engagement with India was very deep. And so many Indians have written critical texts or things, and there were many interviews which were like scattered or not published. So what we did was we collected all of them and published it together, so that anybody who would like to know about Günter Grass and India would find many good content they would find in one volume. Yeah,
this is
that is
fantastic.
one example. Yeah.
Yes.
And another example I'll give you, we have started since the last few years an international research series. That is where we bring out our the thesis of our doctoral candidates, like our PhD thesis done at under my guidance or at our department of German University of Mumbai. So we edit them. I mean, of course, when you are guiding the student, you are always with them. But also we do a very thorough editing. We invite a German native speaker to edit it with us. And then we publish it with an eminent German publication called Königshausen and Neumann. So that those kind of books are also coming out, where the research of young scholars, they are the authors then, and we are just editors, and goes to the international research community. See what has happened in India post-independence. Now I'm saying so much research was done, but they would be lying in some cupboards with dust and all that. It was not brought in the domain of it was not shared with the wider research community. So research is there. It's our duty to share it with others. And that's how we build upon research. Now Shodh Ganga is there. It's a government initiative that all PhD theses should be uploaded there. That is an excellent thing. But internationally, how many people would know about Shodh Ganga? So, and our theses are written in German. So we want at least the German research community to read them, to know that such research is being done.
Yes. So it is really encouraging for the students also.
Yes. Because we have to promote young research scholars, and they get an international publication. So when they are going for interviews after their PhD, they have a book to show, which is of reputed publication. So it helps them also.
Definitely. Yes. And also, people know what is going on in the research area.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
certainly. Oh, great. Then your articles have been published in various journals and books in national and international conferences. So, what are the subjects of these articles?
So it varies. Sometimes I write about German literature.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is, like I said, Günter Grass or Daniel Kehlmann, a contemporary writer.
Okay.
Sometimes I write about German as a foreign language because I also
Mm-hmm.
teach German as a foreign language.
Oh.
Sometimes I write about comparative topics most of the times, and always with this cultural this thing, like okay, German and Indian, this thing, maybe terms, concepts, texts are compared, ideas are compared, discourses are compared.
Mm.
So it is a very wide range, but basically comparative studies, you can say.
Comparative studies, yes. And also, same is true for the conferences that you present papers at, like various
Yeah,
international conferences.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Most of the times it's comparative aesthetics, comparative literature.
Hmm. Okay. Then your translations and book reviews have also been published. So can you tell us about them?
Yeah, book reviews usually happen when they invite me to review some book.
Mm-hmm.
And translations, I love to translate, particularly literary texts,
Mm-hmm.
and in particular poems. I love to
Oh, okay.
translate them, and it's like once, and I don't even bother about the language, because I remember once I was, I think I had just given birth to one of my to my daughter, and I didn't have that much of time. But then somebody asked me if I would translate this. What is her name? Ravi Shankar's daughter.
Anushka.
Anushka Shankar, huh? She
Mm-hmm.
has written a wonderful story, and they wanted to bring out the story in 4 5 languages. So they asked me if I would translate from English to Hindi.
Okay.
So I did it, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And that book got some prize also. So
Uh-huh.
and then in JNU, I translated some poems into from I think it was from Indian languages to German. And then
Mm-hmm.
in we collected, then we had an anthology of Indian short prose,
Mm-hmm.
which we translated into German.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so translation is something I really enjoy.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to recite any poem for us, translated or any other?
Translated, I have in German poem. People will not understand at the moment. Only German
No
poem.
problem. You can recite. No problem.
Okay.
Mm.
One of my favorite, maybe I'll start with Hindi, is Subhadra Kumari Chauhan's, what is it
Mm.
called? सिंहासन हिल उठे, राजवंशों ने भ्रिकुटी तानी थी, बूढ़े भारत में भी आई फिर से नई जवानी थी, बुंदेले हरबोलों के मुंह हमने सुनी कहानी थी. So that is one of the things that I love about Jhansi Ki Rani,
Uh-huh.
Subhadra Kumari Chauhan's poem.
Mhm.
Then in German poems, I like Goethe's Wanderer's Nachtlied.
Uh-huh.
Über
Yeah.
allen Gipfeln ist Ruhe, in allen Wipfeln spürest du kaum einen Hauch. Warte nur, balde ruhest du auch. It's just a
Oh,
small taste of
beautiful.
German.
Yes. Wow. Thank you for that. Now, actually, you mentioned about your innovative project of Marathi language teaching, right? So I would like to, you to share the experience with us. But before that, I have another question. We keep on saying that we are teaching German as a foreign language, or you have done this project where Marathi is taught as a second or foreign language. So can you briefly explain the difference? So how is it to teach it as a first language and foreign language?
Hmm. So, see, you have now in your question, you had three languages. One is the first language or the mother tongue, second
Mhm.
language, and the
Ah,
foreign language.
right.
Okay. So,
Yes.
when you are, I'll try and briefly show the difference among the three.
Right.
Because the
Yes.
first language is usually, as the name suggests, what the child
Mhm.
learns first.
Mhm.
It was called mother tongue. It can be called, but a child can learn can have a couple of first languages also which he learns simultaneously, supposing
Mhm.
the parents are by I mean parent the mother has a different language, father has a different language. From the childhood he will the child will learn she will learn maybe grow up bilingually, multilingually is also possible.
Mhm.
So the first language is which you acquire, which you learn as a first language, where you don't really, you're not taught it. You hear it and
Mhm.
you learn it.
Learn. Oh.
Of course, in school later on you're taught your mother tongue also, but the first
Mhm.
learning happens without any formal education.
Oh.
You just
Right.
hear it and you speak it.
Mhm.
So that is the first language. The second language is, for example, for me, in a way, Marathi, second, third, fourth, fifth languages.
Mhm.
These languages are learned or and spoken uh, in the place where they are spoken by others. Like
Mhm.
Marathi, if I'm learning, it's a second kind of a second language because it's spoken all around me in Maharashtra, in Mumbai.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but German, if I'm learning, it is not spoken in this country, so it's a foreign language.
Oh.
Yeah.
Correct.
So this is the difference. And in the
Mhm.
teaching and learning also, a first
Mhm.
language you will automatically know it and you will be fluent in it usually.
Mhm.
Spoken skills will be excellent, fluency
Mhm.
will be there in your mother tongue. But if I ask you about samanya rupe, I don't know if your mother tongue is Marathi.
Yes, it is.
Ah. So if I ask you some concept, okay, why this samanya roop, that samanya roop, so so it will be difficult for a native speaker to consciously explain the structures of your
Correct.
own mother tongue,
Yes.
because
Yes.
you learn it very in an automated way.
It's ingrained. So
Yeah,
we,
yeah. So
yeah,
you know that this is right and this is wrong, but if somebody asks you to explain it, you won't be able to explain it.
yes.
I mean, you might be able to explain it, but it is difficult.
Yeah, I mean, we have to think and then, we will
Yeah,
recollect, oh,
yeah,
it must be that, like
yeah.
that.
But
Mm.
second language
Mhm.
and foreign languages, when you are
Mm.
learning them in school or in any institute or anywhere, they are taught in a cognitive way where you are, writing and the grammar rules, communication skills. So you are conscious, at least initially, okay, this is the structure. So
Mm.
and this is how it will go.
Oh.
And between second language and the foreign language, the second language, what happens is around you it is being spoken. So you are
Okay.
hearing it all the time. In radio,
Mm.
you will listen to it. On TV, you can listen to it. People around you will speak. But a foreign language, you don't, in your
Mm.
natural habitat, you will not hear it.
Yes.
So hence, usually there's a big difference between learning a first language or
Mhm.
learning a second or a foreign language. Between second and a
Okay.
foreign language, there's not so much of a difference, I would say.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. And now coming back to this innovative Marathi language teaching project. So I think that is a wonderful thing and to share with us.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
it all started, I come from Rajasthan, but I have studied in various parts of India and also in Germany, done my research. But
Okay.
after living in Jaipur, then Pune, Delhi, working, I came to Mumbai. My husband got a job here, so I also came
Mhm.
in. And
Mhm.
then I was big, as you know, as a young mother, and then I was also looking at my career, PhD, this, that. So I was not having enough time.
Mhm.
But after a while, when children had grown up, a little grown up, and then I wanted to learn Marathi,
Oh, okay.
because this is how it started. I'm living
Mhm.
in Maharashtra, I'm living in Mumbai, and I'm teaching a language, and it was my dream to speak Marathi, fluently, not only
Ah,
understand passively, but to be able to. So, and then I was not, then I found out there were some courses at the university, there were some private tutors, and so what I realized here, we have in the same building the Marathi department and German department,
okay.
and I was teaching how to teach German as a foreign language. You know,
Correct.
so first of all, there is so much of research done in Germany on German as a foreign language. Last
Yes.
almost
Mhm.
a century, I can say that a
Ah.
lot of research is done, and it's an independent
Mhm.
subject which you can study.
Mhm.
And not only in
Oh,
Germany,
okay.
even in China, they have Chinese for speakers of other languages as a subject.
Okay.
You can do your MA in that subject. Similarly,
Okay.
you can do your MA, PhD on German as a foreign language,
Mhm.
methodology of teaching, etc.
Oh,
So, and
okay.
interdisciplinary, from neuroscience, from psychology, from linguistics, from social, they have, it's so rich, the methodology of teaching
Mhm.
language. So, language teaching
Mhm.
science is amazing
Okay.
for German.
Mhm.
Similarly, they have
Okay.
developed English also in the English speaking countries.
Yes.
So methodology I could do because I have done my MA. So I knew the methodology of teaching of German as a foreign language, and I was teaching it at the MA level. And when I
Mhm.
started learning Marathi, I realized two things. Number
Mhm.
one, people would take for granted that okay, if a person is a native speaker, he or she
Mhm.
can teach. So
Mhm.
what, and anybody would come and start teaching anything, you know.
Mhm.
Of course, there was a syllabus.
Mhm.
You had some wonderful texts, but some
Mhm.
some poems for children, Yere Yere Pausa and Bholanath, and
Mhm.
literary texts. And suddenly, literary text question answers we had to answer.
Mhm.
And somebody would come and give us vocabulary, which would have Adhi Suchna, and at the same time, you will have uh, what um what is the dawn called in Marathi? I forget the word. Um
What is Dawn?
just say maybe Sandhyakali or something like that. Sandhyakali
Oh,
is the
no.
evening, but what is Sakari? And
Pahat.
Pahat is the word.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so Pahat and Adhisushna, the person will give us the list. So I have given you the vocabulary.
Okay.
So I realized that, and then I had a wonderful teacher for Marathi
Mhm.
who was so good, so good. But she would teach us, or we were teachers in that class. What is a verb? She would give us a definition of that. And then
Mhm.
she would give us some examples and ask us to form sentences. Now, that is a very logical way, and she was really thorough, very good. But
Mhm.
we kept on saying that most of us wanted to speak.
Huh. Yeah.
So, written thing, cognitive thing was happening, but we were not able
Yes.
to speak. So she
Huh.
would say, okay, you read newspaper articles. Now, first time you're learning Marathi, how can you read newspaper articles with that?
And that
Or
language is really tough. newspaper language.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I realized that one thing is that there has to be properly structured content to teach Marathi. And
Okay.
secondly, the methodology should be there. So, and thirdly, not only this that, but modernization of the teaching methodology, and also standardization was required.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
in the first level, you cannot just come and give the word adhisuchna.
No.
First level, you have to start with parichay, odak, whatever
Yes.
colors and numbers and etc. Kharidi kashi karayची. So that was not happening in Marathi because they were teaching Marathi literature. It's a very solid department, and their specialization is literature.
Yes.
Linguistics they will do in a very, very scientific way. Literature they will do in a very scientific way. But for them, teaching of Marathi, for them it was, they took it for understood na Marathi सीखना क्या है. Because your mother tongue, it's easy for everyone else also. But हमारे लिए नहीं होता है. People who don't know your language. So then I came across an excellent teacher, one more teacher, very good, Suhas Limay. And then we started talking, and we did some research. There were a few books which were written, but there was no standardized levels. They were not there. So we decided that, okay, let us start doing this work. So because what I had was, I didn't know Marathi at all. So just imagine a person who does not know Marathi is wanting to write textbooks for Marathi. It is unimaginable. So, but it was, you've heard that story of a blind man and a lame man.
Okay.
So the man is on the top, sits on the blind man and guides the blind man, and they reach their destination.
Yes.
So that's what we did. Suhas Limay and then later Madhuri Purandare, Madhuri Tai joined. Jayavant Chunekar was there in the beginning. Sonali Gujar joined. So we started this project where the idea was that we will create content, textbooks, workbooks, audiovisual content, and level wise, and in a very systematic way. So it was using the communicative methodology. But that does not mean that there is no grammar. There is grammar, is the skeleton of language. It has to be there. So language structures were there, but they were dealt with in a different way. Language, grammar was there, written, all the 4 skills were there, writing, listening and hearing, speaking, reading. So, and plus language games we introduced in the books. And so we created, the original idea was to create those 6 levels, which are there for Indian, for German language. All developed languages have those standardized proficiency levels. Okay, level 1 you have done. If you've done it in Mumbai, level 2 you can do in Tokyo, level 4, level 3 in New York, and it will be, you will not be repeating anything. It will be always one step ahead. So that standardization was the aim. And so we started doing this work. I had the know-how of how to teach, what kind of exercises, how to the progression, how communicative method, what are the strategies you can use. And then I had help, the Marathi experts. Suhas Limay was a walkie-talkie encyclopedia on Marathi grammar. He would tell you all the rules, whether it is Damle or whether some other grammarian. He had it on his tips. all
Okay.
the rules with all the exceptions. So as like that, we used to sit for hours and plan, create a structure for different levels, and have the inputs from literary minded people like Madhuri Purandare, who would help us with texts.
Oh, yes.
Then we had some artists for the illustrations. We had
Okay.
for the photos. So what happened was, in our ambition to make a very good quality to make good
Textbook.
quality books, the whole project was a very expensive proposition, because
Okay.
if you have illustrations, you
Yes.
cannot just copy paste from somewhere. The entire book has to have the same style,
Yeah.
and then you need photos which are copyright free.
Yes.
Sometimes for a certain context, you need a specific photo which you have to actually click. So you need photographers. So, and it had to be a colored book, because latest books, if you look at them, they're all colored.
Yes.
They should be appealing, and they should be so the question
A
of
lot of
money came.
parameters.
Yeah,
Yes.
like, okay, now who will finance it? Because my idea from the beginning was that if I'm doing this project, people who are language experts who would be required for this project, and we could not have used any Tom, Dick, and Harry. We needed to have people who were real sound experts. I mean, really very, very solid experts, you know.
Yes.
So, and these kind of people, to have them for a very long time, I wanted to do justice to their expertise by paying them well. I did not want them to do the work free of cost, because these people, you know, though in Marathi, I really love this part of Marathi culture where they believe in simple living and high thinking. And but I did not want to exploit their this thing, and it would not have been possible for them also to give such concentrated and such intense work over so many years, you know. So
Yes.
where does the money come from? That was a big issue, because we needed the best of minds, and from different fields we needed people. And we started the project in 2012, and so first 1.5 years, 2 years, there was no funding, and then somehow we could get Amir Khan's funding for the first level, because Suhas Limai was teaching Amir Khan Marathi. So when he realized that our work was progressing, there was no money, but we had started off the project with nothing in hand. And as he saw our seriousness, he got in another expert, Jayavant Chunekar, came in the project. And all three of us, I still remember that day when we decided, okay, we are going to work together. We didn't have a single penny with us. But I said, okay, I believe in the principle of karma, which Gita says. And fal kya hoga dekha jayega, let us work. So Jayavant smiled. She said, okay. He said, okay, if that is our principle, your principle, we are with you. So you wouldn't believe, both of them would religiously come every week. We had fixed Thursdays where we would work the entire day for this project. And I mean, they really worked so hard without a single penny, I would say. But then thankfully this money came in and we could start paying our experts, and first level happened. Now after first level, Madhuri Tai had told me, Madhuri Purandare, she had told me, don't worry about the money. If you've done good work, money will come. You won't believe it. We tried and tried and tried, and it didn't come after the first level.
Okay.
But then 2014, we released the first book. Amir Khan had also come and he released the book. He had supported us financially. But he said that now my job is done, he said. Now the funding should come from Maharashtra government. He says,
Yes.
after all, if they don't work for Marathi language, who should work?
Who will?
So then, thankfully, it took another 2 years, 3 years. 2017, we could get Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha funding. And then we could do level 2. We finished 3, 4, 5 is the fifth one is now in print. It's
okay.
And the sixth one is also done now. The last touches, we are just finalizing the design and making those corrections. So next, hopefully, on the next Marathi Bhasha Din on 27th February, all the 6 levels will be out. And,
definitely.
And Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha not only gave us this work of 6 levels. Basically, each level would have one textbook, one workbook, and audiovisual content. But they said, okay, if you're doing this work, you have to take more work for 4 specific target groups. For the Marathi for rickshaw chalak and taxi drivers, we have created a short course for them, a book. Marathi for nurses, Marathi for bank karamchari, and Marathi for Shasakiya Marathi. So all these 4 books are done, and plus an app called My Marathi is also being done. So this, and we are making digital links for these for this work, which I will share with you if you would like to maybe project or something. So basically, since this project is funded, we have digitalized the content. So anybody wanting to use it, they can just click on the link and they will get. So around more than 1,500 pages of textbooks, workbooks have happened over the last, 9 years. Yes. So that
solid work.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that, and I feel blessed that I could learn Marathi. I mean, not as much as I wanted to, but I could.
But you initiated a huge project.
Yeah, and I could get a glimpse of such a rich language. My God, amazing vocab, amazing. If you look at Vak Prachar and Mani, what a rich storehouse. And more than 50 verbs just for cooking. I mean, it's such a rich, and so I feel blessed that I could get a peep into such treasure, and of course there was a social need that at least if you keep on saying Marathi Shika, but where was the proper content was not there. So now there is content. Another thing I would like to say is we even started Marathi courses where this is being taught using our books, our methodology. Because we realize that, preparing content will not help unless teachers are trained to teach in a communicative way.
Yes.
So we also developed content for teachers training. And then courses were started, and right now I'm happy to share with you that we are having a very good response for online, because because of the pandemic, we had to shift to the online mode. For that also, we had to conduct a training with Rajya Marathi Vikas Sanstha and Marathi Bhasha Vibhag of the Maharashtra government. We conducted a training for teaching Marathi online. And
Okay.
yeah, for the first time, our intake capacity is full now
Oh,
for level
that's
one.
nice.
Yes,
Yes.
so we are
Very
very
nice.
happy about that.
Yes. So the students are from India or abroad? The
Right now,
students from.
I think all of them are from India, but
Mm-hmm.
our
Okay.
books were used in Israel to
Mm-hmm.
teach
Okay.
Marathi there. And
Okay.
one of the teachers, Sonali Gujar, who was with us, had gone to
Mhm.
Israel to teach them Marathi. And
Oh, okay.
these books are also being used in US, Japan, Germany.
Okay.
We had them on Amazon. The first level was
Okay.
there, but now it's out of stock. So I think we have
Okay.
to do something about it and make it
I
more
see.
available. Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody wants to purchase, can just go on Amazon whenever they are available. I mean,
Yes, yes. We
when
are
they are
trying to
back
get
in stock.
make them
Yeah.
available very soon. Yes.
Very good. Very good. Wow, wow, what a wonderful thing to happen to the Marathi language
To
and the
me,
language fraternity.
to us,
Yes,
it
of course. Yes.
yes, yes.
Great. And now coming back to your current role in the University of Mumbai. So we would like to know about that. You are heading the German language department. So can you tell us about your role and responsibilities?
Yeah. So I would like to say I'm professor currently.
Okay.
I was head thrice, but we
Hmm.
have rotation every
Okay.
3 years. So currently, I'm not the head. My colleague is the head. Uh,
Okay.
but since there is rotation system, so every 3 years the headship changes. But
Okay.
what I can share with you is that after I rejoined, after doing 10 years of service at the University of Mumbai, I had gone to JNU because my service here was temporary.
Okay.
So I worked in JNU for 4 years and then came back as professor here. So when I
Okay.
came, I was the only permanent staff at the department. And
Okay.
there were total five more positions which were not filled.
Hmm.
But I can share with you that today we have six full-time faculty, and we have right from the beginning BA, MA, PhD programs, and also part-time
Okay.
courses. For more
Okay.
than 1,000 students are enrolled, and
Oh.
our department does part-time and full-time programs in German and
Mm-hmm.
part-time courses in Japanese and communicative Marathi. And
Okay.
we have also started BA in Chinese studies.
I see.
Oh, yeah,
That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So a multilingual department. Yeah.
And we have several international collaborations, and I'm very happy to share that our
Uh-huh.
postgraduate students, PhD scholars, faculty can go to Germany, all funded by the German side, and do
Mm-hmm.
their research there for a semester. And we also have currently also we have actually four very very active collaborations. We have
Oh.
international PhD colloquia where German research scholars and Indian research scholars present their research. There are
Hmm.
discussions where experts from both the sides are there. So a
Oh.
lot of academic exchange, joint
Hmm.
research is happening,
Hmm.
and live projects are there where students are involved. So,
Huh.
yeah,
That's
so
nice.
we are enjoying it.
Yeah. Yes. That makes the students are also then quite involved and they're looking forward to some action, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And not only that, because of we involve them also in organizing programs. So when they leave,
Mm-hmm.
they get excellent jobs, sometimes more paying than what my job is. So BA, after MA, they get excellent opportunities in, I mean, even firms like Amazon, Google, of course,
Okay.
German firms like Siemens, Bosch, German
Okay.
consulate, even Max Muller Bhavan. So our students are doing well, and I'm happy about it.
Wow. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. You have been in this language industry for such a long time. So I ask this question to everyone. What is that one thing you would like to change about it?
Uh, that one thing I would like to change about, you said language industry.
Yes.
Um, the field of languages, I would say I'm based in India, and I
Mhm.
feel sad that we are not doing enough. We pride ourselves for being polyglots, multilingual,
Mhm.
and people
Mhm.
look at us abroad. They look at us as an example of how multilingualism can work so well. However, I feel sad that we don't have standardized and modernized courses
Mhm.
for Indian languages. So the work that
Oh.
we have done for Marathi,
Mhm.
why is it important today? If as an Indian or as anyone,
Mhm.
I want to learn German or French or Chinese. So there are
Mhm.
institutions where very good standardized courses are being offered. But tell
Yes.
me, if I want to learn Punjabi in here in India, or I want to learn Gujarati or Tamil or Telugu, Malayalam, where do I go?
Correct.
Yeah, so of course there are some institutions there is which who are doing some work, but I think there
Mhm.
needs to be more of intermingling between Indian languages and foreign
Mhm.
languages,
Mhm.
because in
Okay.
many foreign languages have a very developed language teaching science, which
Mhm.
Indian language teaching badly needs, you know. So
Yeah.
use the methodology, use the latest methods and techniques to teach
Mhm.
Indian languages,
Correct.
because our
Correct.
languages are so rich. Some of them are
Mhm.
so old, and like I had this encounter with Marathi, and I feel so enriched by the entire experience. And
Yes.
I would like to learn, for example, Tamil. Some of my very good friends are Tamil. I would like to
Ah,
learn it, but it should be made more accessible. Should be
accessible.
made modernized content should be there, modernized methodology should be there, and
Mhm.
standardized courses should be there.
Ah. So I think that will make it easier for the learners,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
yes, and why should our languages not be taught with the latest methodologies?
Yes,
And why should it
absolutely.
not be fun to learn an Indian language?
Yes, certainly. I get your point.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a wonderful answer. And what are your future plans?
Uh, so I would like I one thing I also like a lot is administration. You know,
Uh-huh.
working, building teams towards a certain goal, achieving those
Mhm.
goals. I'm a very people's person. You know, I love to work in teams,
Mhm.
and like how it happened for Marathi over the 9 years. A very strong team got
Mhm.
built, and we could do
Mhm.
achieve so much. Again, in
Yes.
our department also, how I started as a single person, and now we have more than so many faculty,
Right.
even part-time visiting faculty, more than 2 dozen. So I like to work in groups. When the pandemic happened, again we built
Mhm.
teams, and to have very interactive digital tools to make online
Mhm.
teaching interesting and systematic, and so.
Mhm.
And now if you look at the reviews, feedback our students give us for part-time courses, they are excellent, that how much they
Mhm.
loved so so I would like to get into an administrative position. That is one
Ah, okay.
thing, or maybe
Mhm.
at a higher, maybe university administration.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
another thing I would like to do is work for Indian languages, and particularly Hindi, which is
Oh,
a bigger
okay.
challenge because it's my mother tongue. And so thinking structurally is more difficult in your mother tongue.
Yes.
So yeah, work for Indian languages, prepare something like so huge and beautiful like what we did for Marathi, for Hindi also, because Hindi is internationally, it is being learned internationally, and our language should have quality content.
Yes.
So yeah, these are the two fields I would like to contribute more. And there are other things for German language, literature, culture studies, which are in my mind. Yeah. So which I will start once this Marathi project comes to an end in the next 2-3 months.
Okay.
And so, yes.
Wow. Wow, these are really good plans, and I'm sure you will go after them for sure. Yes.
Or they'll come after me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Certainly. It was a lovely time talking to you with you, Vibha. And
Thank you,
I learned.
Thank you for inviting me. I also enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a nice discussion, and I learned so many things from you. And wish you all the best for your future plans.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
झनक झनक झन झंकारिता अखिल जगती भुलवी रसिक मनांच्या